Okay, so a few days ago, I did a walk and talk video, and the topic was basically whether or not I was being too hard on US businesses. And the response from the community was overwhelming, basically saying, no, I'm not being too hard on them. I mean, I can feel for the business owners that didn't vote for this, but ultimately, and there really is no easy way for the international community to support those that didn't vote for Diaper Don and his administration. And the first report I'm going to show you comes out of Bellingham, somewhere that I'm very familiar with. And this business is on life support. And one of the reasons that they mention is because the Canadians are not coming down anymore. And then we have this business here from North Carolina. And they did mention that they lost their Canadian business pretty much overnight. And it's been a struggle to try to stay afloat. So we're going to go through these two stories today. And I want to show these two reports, not to rub it in their face, but to actually show the economic impact and why everybody's vote in 2024 actually mattered. So let's get started with the first report out of Bellingham.
Covering Whatcom County tonight, a locally owned craft store in Bellingham is on the brink of closure after experiencing a sharp drop in business from Canadian tourists. The owners of Northwest Yarns and Mercantile say this and impacts from tariffs are making it difficult to keep the lights on.
Now, I can't say that I've ever shopped at this place, but we do know that there are businesses in Bellingham that are struggling. I did a report last summer on this business here, and they basically said that there are no Canadians coming to their shop anymore. Let me remind everyone of this one.
A lot of people from Victoria come down during the summer, and it's summer, middle of summer, we've not seen any Canadian traffic. It's been months, 3 to 4 months, and the last time they were here, they were complaining about the border, about the max they can spend while they're here. I'm at a point where we've been cutting hours for our employees.
A far cry from the smiling faces and adorable onesies she was posting on social media. Sasha picked up her phone and set the record straight that things were far from sunny.
I'm at a point where I didn't want to just suddenly close on our customers without giving them a heads up, and the local people that could maybe help support this, since we are really reliant on the Canadian traffic to come down here.
Now, since this report was published last summer, according to Google, unfortunately, it looks like Mint and Method closed down. And I'm pretty sure they're not the only one in this situation across all border states. So yeah, we're going to hear another business that's in the same situation.
Como Stella Sun brings us more from Bellingham.
In downtown Bellingham,
crafting brings a lot of people together, and Northwest Yarns is a space to do that.
Northwest Yarns and Mercantile has been a space for people to buy yarn and equipment to create and learn. Over the years, it's created a close-knit community.
It's my space, a second home, and it is pretty sad to me that it is at risk of being lost.
Now, my gut's kind of telling me that he didn't vote for the Tangerine Tyrant. But unfortunately, enough of his fellow citizens did, and one of his favorite places is at risk. Now, this relates exactly to what I said before. It's sad that this business is in this situation, but Canadians are not going to come save you guys. There are businesses in the United States I would love to support. One being the Java Moose Cafe in Minnesota. If you've been around my channel, you might have remembered this one, because she did an interview with the media, and the media completely twisted her story. I got to know her through email and got the real side of the story. And as much as I would love to be able to support her and her business, I just simply can't because I'm Canadian, and she totally understands. There are going to be some businesses that totally understand why we're not coming down, and they respect that. But then there's going to be businesses out there that are thinking that we're the one causing the damage to them. And for those businesses, I have no sympathy for you. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's very Canadian of me.
Not just for me, but for all the other people who might come to Bellingham looking for a place to belong and a place to connect to other people.
We lost about 20% of our business very, very quickly.
The owners say Canadians are a vital part of their customer base.
Some of the anti-Canadian rhetoric that began around spring of last year quickly followed by tariffs, and very high tariffs on Canadian goods.
So the fact that she mentioned the rhetoric towards Canada kind of tells me who she voted for. Because not many businesses will actually say that. They'll blame it on like the exchange rate or the weather or any other bullshit excuse. So I am sorry this is happening to you, but Canadians, we're going to stand our ground. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me on this. And if you do agree, and you're not subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button below so you're notified of my future videos.
Less Canadian customers coming to shop.
You know, we had one item that had 4 price increases in 6 months.
And U.S. tariffs on imported goods have made the yarn mill suppliers they buy from raise prices.
We would love to source more products from the United States. Unfortunately, there are no longer a lot of yarn mills.
But Diaper Don did say that he's going to bring manufacturing back to the US, didn't he? I guess that's not happening.
Left in the United States.
The owner is creating a GoFundMe to try and get help from the community.
To just straight up ask for money is really hard. We're feeling like there's an upswing and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're gonna get there.
I am very glad to see the community showing up for Northwest Yarns in the way that Northwest Yarns show up for community.
In Bellingham, Stella Sun, Como News.
The community has raised $12,000 of its $60,000 goal.
Now, I do kind of wish this business does survive. I just don't know how it's going to do it. But I guess I'll have to figure it out with other Canadians. Now, this next report is a Maclean's article, and it's titled, "The Trade War is Still Pummeling U.S. Businesses." Now, it's about this guy that started a pottery company in North Carolina. And he talks about how he started the company from scratch, started getting a lot of business in Canada, and then overnight, they all disappeared. When I say they all disappeared, I'm talking about the contracts that he had in Canada. So I'm going to go over parts of this article, but I am going to focus on the sections that really talk about the impact of not having Canadian sales. But if you want to read the whole thing yourself, I'll leave the link in the description below. But I will read parts of it out for the GTL community that are visually impaired, or maybe walking or doing crafts or other stuff while they're listening to my video. In 2022, we founded a pottery company called Han. It is a humble beginning. We worked out of a decrepit farmhouse where the electricity constantly went out and there was no potable water. On weekends, we greased our palms at gift shows and craft fairs in hopes of making sales and landing contracts. A year later, we saved up enough to move to a small warehouse in Ellie Whitney, North Carolina. In a world filled with soulless, mass-produced objects, we wanted to offer something different, functional, handmade, timeless pieces of art. Beyond the products, we wanted to revive careers that had largely vanished, creating peaceful space where people could work with their hands. Over the next decade, we hired 25 staff and eventually moved into our 13,000 square foot warehouse in Burlington, North Carolina. Which I should remind everybody that North Carolina, Diaper Don did win by a little bit. Our main revenue stream came from selling our homemade dinnerware to American restaurants and hotels. In 2019, as business boomed, we began selling our prices abroad too, including Canada, where demand was strong. Canadian hospitality companies were keen to work with small companies. They understood the value of our work. We also like working with Canadians. There is an inherent openness and warmth north of the border. Well, we are friendly until you really piss us off. Hospitality is part of the Canadian DNA. In 2024, we decided to grow our Canadian footprint. We already had interest in Toronto and Calgary. We wanted to deepen those roots by moving into other cities like Vancouver, Montreal, and Edmonton. Eventually, we hope to partner with businesses in Canada's premier hotel locations such as Whistler, Banff, Charlevoix, and Okanagan Valley. I think I pronounced that wrong. But anyways, you can see here in 2024, they had big plans to expand into Canada. And in hindsight, it was actually really bad timing. Now I'm going to skip forward a little bit. Then Diaper Don was elected. Within 2 weeks of his inauguration, he imposed 25% tariffs on nearly all Canadian goods. Our products were protected under CUSMA, but Diaper Don's action left a bitter taste in the mouths of our Canadian customers. One that soured even more when he started making threats and jokes about Canada becoming our 51st state. Almost immediately, we lost contracts with our northern neighbors, who explicitly told us they were choosing to buy Canadian instead. Diaper Don's fighting words and economic attacks have put them off dealing with American businesses, even small ones like mine. Within weeks, we lost all of our Canadian customers. We had to back out of the Restaurant Canada show. Over the course of 2025, our total hospitality revenue shrunk by about 10%. This forced us to downsize for the first time in our company's history. We let 2 full-time workers go. We reduced hours for 3 others and cut our own salaries. My employees live in my community. I know their families. It was heartbreaking to look them in the eye and break the news. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute because I want to ask a question. And I'm not targeting this company specifically because I have no evidence in terms of which way they voted for. But there's thousands of companies in the United States that are in this situation. But yeah, the question is, how many of these companies that are telling us their sob stories may have owners that voted for Diaper Don? Or maybe not the owners, but the staff, the managers, the HR representatives, the line workers. So when this guy says it was heartbreaking to look at them in the eyes and break the news, for me, it would only be heartbreaking for those that didn't vote for Diaper Don. But for those that did vote for him, I would be able to look them in the eyes and said, you did this. You lost your own job, and that's your own doing. Now back to the article. After finally recovering from the pandemic, we were suddenly gasping for air again. My whole staff was anxious about when the next shoe would drop. With reduced people power. We had to work overtime to complete orders. The uncertainty made matters worse. Our ability to hire back staff or continue our efforts to expand into Canada all hinged on the contents of our president's next erratic tweet. We had no control, and we could not predict anything. It was infuriating and made it impossible to plan the future. Now I'm going to pause it here before I go to the last screenshot. But this US business owner, I totally get your frustration. You're not able to plan anything. I mean everything could change with Diaper Don's next tweet. But the struggles that you're actually going through right now, you're not unique. It's happening all over the world. And the big difference is that people outside of the United States, we didn't have a choice in this. We didn't get a vote in this. We didn't get to determine if Diaper Don was in the office or if he was not. Let me finish this last screenshot and I'll go through my full rant. This last year has been difficult financially, emotionally, and logistically. The tariffs are framed as a way to bring businesses and manufacturing back to the United States, but as a small domestic manufacturer, that's not what we experienced. You know, whenever I hear US manufacturing and bring manufacturing back to the United States, I always think of these funny memes that were going around last year. These memes started flooding social media when the United States really pissed off China. But has any manufacturing been back to China? I don't think so. And even when Georgia was about to open a Hyundai plant, they decided to arrest the people that were helping them. I don't bring this up to rub salt in the wound. I bring it up because I don't want people to forget what happened in the last 15 months. Anyways, back to the article. It took us almost over a year to recover from the effects of the tariffs. Fortunately, we were able to hire new employees and revive sales by focusing on growth of our business within America, but we pride ourselves on relationships we built with customers all over the globe. Revenue aside, it means something when a restaurant or hotel chooses us among a whole potential pottery suppliers in their home countries. Canadians specifically showed a lot of appreciation for our work. It's sad not to be working with the clients we've known for years. Yeah, but it's also sad to be threatened to be taken over by a friend. Just saying. Canadian aversions to US products persist, as does the uncertainty of it all, but we remain hopeful that we can only one day regrow severed relationships and continue our plans to expand into Canada. I'm not a politician. I'm just a father and a small business owner in North Carolina, but I do my best to sway a government that seems dead set on undermining fair trade. I shared my story with the US Chamber of Commerce. I write letters to my congresspeople and I tell anyone who will listen, tariffs are a lose-lose game. Now, I get the sense that this guy didn't vote for Diaper Don, but I have no concrete proof of that. So I'm going to say this in a general way to all US businesses. But anytime I hear a story when a US business is saying that they're failing or on the brink of bankruptcy and shutting down, have any of these businesses actually considered what's happening north of the border? What about our businesses that are shutting down? What about our small businesses that can't ship to the United States anymore because you got this stupid, ridiculous tax? Or any of our manufacturing plants, whether it's steel or automotive, where the plants have shut down because of ridiculous policies by the United States? I'm trying to remember from memory, but any report that I've read where a US business is struggling, it's always about them. I've done multiple reports and even interviews with Canadian companies where they're struggling now because of these new tariffs. And not just Canada, Australia as well as Europe as well. And couriers and postal service are refusing to ship to the United States because they can't keep track of what the tax rate is now. So it's not just businesses in the United States that are suffering right now, everybody is. But one day I would love to see a report out of the US where they start pointing the fingers at themselves instead of outside of their country. Now this report here was close. My gut tells me I think this business owner understands, which is not a common thing that you hear coming from the United States. I would not expect any business coming from outside your borders anytime soon, at least for the next 3 years. Now I want to end this with a comment that I saw on my channel. Let me read it out. Your channel has become far too anti-American. As a Canadian, I know there are many great Americans that love Canada and Canadians. Your constant repeated negativity is not helping the situation. Unsubscribed. Well, on the unsubscribe part, oh no. Anyways, this right here is a clear example of everybody thinking that I stereotype and generalize all US citizens. If I hated and was negative on all US citizens, would I be friends with this guy? Would I be doing live streams with him and would I be sharing a Discord server with him? Not only that, would I be talking to US citizens every day on Discord or email or Blue Sky, encouraging them to keep the fight and build the resistance group? I don't know how many times I have to say it or how I have to explain it. You might call me anti-American. I call it standing up for Canada. And it sounds to me like your way of helping the situation is to be more aligned with the United States. Well, I hate to tell you this, but it's not kumbaya and flowers with the United States anymore. And quite frankly, I'm tired of the US taking advantage of us. And to be honest, I'm actually happy you unsubscribed, because people like you think the facts are negative, when in fact this is the new reality that we're living in. So you go ahead and live in your dream world with the United States, because you're not going to be missed here. To close off this video, I would like to thank Mr. Mystics from our Discord server for taking this photo of Lake Louise in Alberta. I believe this photo was taken recently, and he did say that it's still walkable on the lake. But I'm not sure I would be encouraging anyone to do that with the weather warming up. But thanks again, Mr. Mystics, for posting this in the Discord server and sharing it with the community. Alright, that's all I got for this video. And I do apologize for the rant at the end. I don't feel good about it, but I just really can't stand it when people mix up negativity and standing up for your own country. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be like that guy and bend over to the United States. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.